States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of council, please.
Councilmember Garberding? Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Page is absent. Councilmember Olivera? Here. Councilmember Putnam?
Here.
Councilmember Steiger is absent. And Councilmember Walker?
Here.
All righty. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
I have actually a change to make. I would like to remove the executive session.
Removing the executive session. What are the rules for executive session for this item? Or striking item 5 from the agenda. Any other changes to the agenda? All righty. Then, first item on the agenda, waste management increase in fees for processing of composting.
Yeah, you're the one that gets knocking in before the night. Oh, I have that.
So, this was something that was before council, this resolution, minutes ordinance we're going to have. Let me read it first, how about that? According to letter mailed August 12, 2014, a new rule established by the Washington Department of Ecology took effect on June 30th, 2014, which affects the current contract rates in place for composting. Cedar Grove handles the compostables collected by Waste Management and has indicated that a change in law will affect composting processing fees. Section 7.3D of the current collection contract allows for adjustment of rates due to an increase in fees for the processing compostables if they're being processed at a third-party facility not owned or operated by Waste Management. Okay, so then you see the rates down there, and we've worked with Laura with Waste Management, and we had to get them to wait a certain amount of days. I think it was 45 days.
Yes.
45 days until they put it up actually till I believe December 1st. So we did due diligence. I've talked with Carol. I actually have our attorney here tonight to discuss what we need to do, and as far as moving forward. So, Carol, can you come up and talk to us?
Good evening, Carol Morris, City Attorney. Amy handed them a copy of the ordinance.
I did.
So the ordinance that you're going to be seeing very shortly for action includes definitions which relate to solid waste. And there are also provisions in here relating to prohibitions on people dumping on other property any solid waste. There are requirements that you actually subscribe to the service so that you do have people come pick up solid waste from your property, and if you don't, you have to pay for it regardless. The charges are going to be included in this ordinance. I think they're attached as an exhibit. There are also violations for violating the ordinance. These are things that are in other cities' ordinances, and basically the reason you need to have the charges in your ordinance is to provide notice to the public of how much they're going to have to pay for this service. And these other requirements that I just went through are things that state law requires you to put in the ordinance. So I haven't really discussed all of the terms with the people from Waste Management. I took the definitions and the section about how often they charge for the service from the contract that you have with Waste Management. But this is the first draft, and I just wanted to make you aware of the changes that are going to be made and what you'll see in the ordinance that you'll have in front of you very shortly. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard, you're saying that we're going to, with the passage of this, that we would require everybody to pay for recycling?
Well, that's up to you and your contract with Waste Management.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, what I'm
We
here.
talked about it before.
Right.
Yeah, what I'm here to tell you is state law says that if you do provide for solid waste collection, that you need to make sure that everybody in the city actually uses the service, and if they don't use it, they have to pay for it regardless. That's why you have the collection service.
State requires that?
Yeah, I mean, once you set this up.
Okay, so sorry, can I continue my question? So as long as we contractually make a contract with Waste Management, if that's what we decide to go with, and we don't write it in requiring everyone to have recycling.
No, I'm not talking about recycling, I'm just talking about solid waste. I'm way behind you because you don't even have an ordinance right now that requires people to have their solid waste picked up. And that's what state law requires.
You're talking about regular garbage?
Just regular garbage.
Okay.
Yeah, regular
I just
garbage.
want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah, and if you want to put recycling in this, that's fine, we can add that, but right now I'm just talking about
Okay.
putting regular garbage.
Okay.
I thought we were on compostable.
Well,
We are in compostables with regards to the change, and the reason I'm here in front of you to talk to you tonight is to let you know that the change in the rate is going to show up in an ordinance that's going to look like this, because you don't have anything in your code right now that has any rates at all in it.
okay.
Yeah,
Slide
that's,
it in a little bit.
yeah, I'm way behind you.
Well, I'm looking at the math for the compostables, and what it looks like, and I'm not great at math, it looks like that the more people that subscribe to this, the lower the fee.
Yeah, I wish, that Laura had been here, but she's not, but that's what I believe she said as well.
Okay.
And what Carol was speaking to was, and she made me aware of this, is that all of our rates need to be in code, all the rates for every service we provide. And we do provide this, even though Waste Management does the work, it's our city that allows it. And so we have to make sure that, and they haven't been in code, and like she was saying, nobody has to really follow any rules right now with regard to it, so we're going to we're going to change that so that it's done correctly.
In the 040A, you say it's unlawful for any person to burn, bury, dump, collect, remove, or in any other manner dispose of yard debris other than is provided in this chapter. I know we have lots of people who do their own composting, and the chapter nowhere authorizes that. Does this technically make it illegal to do your own composting at home?
We can add something in there that addresses that. Be happy to do that.
Don't we give out?
Yes, we sponsor the cleanup fair and have the worm bins and all that, so.
So is composting going to be a requirement for every home?
It depends on the contract. I mean, I think that was the way it was going.
So then wouldn't our fees be less since there would be more people required to compost or pay for the service?
Right.
Otherwise, they're going to.
That's what we make it in concept.
Yeah. Right now it's going up based on the fees from the site. And so I don't think this one here is relevant to the overall numbers at this time. And I'll talk to Laura about that. I'll follow up with her to give you an idea if that's the case. But it seems like this is not compared to what we do recycling with free services. So
And but more people that charge for it, so lower,
that's what I heard her say too. Yeah.
they're going up.
If you would like, however.
But it's.
Sorry. So if you'd like, I could have her come to the next meeting next week. So she
I
could
don't
answer
know.
questions.
Yeah.
Math over.
And I'd just like to point out too that after looking at your contract, in order to incorporate some of the terms in your contract into this ordinance, I noticed that you're almost at the end of your contract anyway.
Right.
You don't have to go out for RFP for garbage and solid waste service, but it's recommended that you do so to make sure that you get the best price.
Yeah, depending on negotiations.
I haven't been going on a while.
I don't know where it's at.
Well, negotiations are the same as an RFP.
Well, and as far as negotiations go, it's been, thank you. It's been a little while since we met. I was supposed to meet with Clint and Laura on Friday, but Clint was sick. And Vic's out of town. I don't think they've met for a month. And the last I talked was at the finance committee meeting, and Vic brought up the idea of possibly using some of the solid waste fund monies for hiring a negotiator. So I think they haven't gone anywhere with this negotiations, as far as what I can tell.
As I recall, it's being negotiated this time because they're looking at a short extension until we can get
June 30th
both
next
sides
year.
of the city in sync, because we've got two separate haulers right now, and if we can put them both out to RFP at the same time, we can consolidate service for both sides of the city. I think that's why it's just being negotiated this time, if I remember correctly.
It's part of it is it expired, I mean,
Yeah.
and so they had to extend it, and usually the last two times we've extended it for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. And this time it was, well, we're going to, I'm speaking for what I got from the council, we're going to negotiate with them on bringing both counties into the same, vendor, which I understand, but I just want to make the council aware that even though, and like the attorney said, like Carol said, we don't have to go out to RFP, but it couldn't hurt to do that as well, except the time frame might be a little bit sticky then. That's the only thing I was thinking of. We might want to have this discussion on the 1st of December when we get all parties here, and also can talk with Laura about the timing, just so council understands that. And we have gone a little bit off topic, but it really is part of this whole discussion about waste management. And that's why I did want, Carol and I had a meeting tonight, but I also wanted her to speak to this, because she has some knowledge about how it needs to work, so we're doing it correctly. The part of these rates, this is just a change they're making, a small change because of the cost going up for the composting site. You want to speak now?
No, that's all I had. Unless anyone had any more questions.
All right, council's pleasure on this one? To move that forward, and before we move on to the next item, I wanted to say, something occurred to me that I forgot to mention. I would like to add one item, two items to the agenda, very briefly after item F. First item would be just an update from Carriac has the quick lane for that corner radius of the sewer project. We just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that, get that covered. And we don't have anything prepared for council tonight, and it's not a meeting, so we can't actually do any action on that tonight.
That's correct.
Okay, but if we have them, so we've got a copy for everybody on council, we've got a quick lane. And the other item was, and item G, would be a brief discussion of backup power for the union center. Yes, nobody else has your quick lane yet, so. Copy that one, and that's on that. All right, now, back onto our main agenda, item B, resolution 2014-215, establishing procedures for consideration of altering speed limits on city streets.
Good evening, council. The resolution before you tonight is just that, is providing the procedure that will allow you as a body to adjust speed limits within the jurisdiction. And that was one of the things that has been absent. And when I came aboard to the city, I understand the city attorney had been working and brought this to the mayor and the city administrator's attention. So it's been on my to-do list to get this shaped to a point to where we could have discussion about it tonight. The earlier version of this was brought before the Public Works Committee. Let's see, what day was that? That was November 5th.
First week of November.
November 5th, and where the actual procedure was discussed in great detail. I'll summarize a little bit, and then certainly if you have questions, I'll answer any questions you have. But to summarize, the city does, as a local agency, have authority to alter speed limits within its jurisdiction. However, that authority does have some limitations or has some restrictions on how it's to be approached. So for all streets that are classified as arterial streets, whether you increase or decrease the speed limit, you have to go through an engineering and traffic analysis. And this is codified in RCW 4661-415. But other streets that are not classified as an arterial, the local jurisdiction, without a full-blown engineering traffic study and analysis, can decrease the speed limit on local access streets or non-arterial streets. So I think there had been a little bit of misunderstanding about what was permissible. And so to clarify that, this procedure allows the city to address both arterial and non-arterial streets when you want to look at altering the speed limits, either up or down. So I can walk through the steps of the procedure if you'd like, or if you want to read that, and if there's any questions I can answer, I'll take those.
I guess the only concern I have is we did do a temporary reduction on perimeter. Were we within the bounds at the time to do a temporary, or were we out of bounds?
That's why I'm here tonight, is to really put the guardrail in place, so to speak, so we can do this pursuant to the state statute.
I'm kind of saying that we were out of bounds a little bit.
Yes.
When we originally did it, it was an emergency situation, though. In an emergency situation, the rules don't apply. Am I correct?
For those emergent conditions, but you do have to take a permanent action outside of that emergent condition.
Do we need to return it back to its original now to be within?
Well, I can't provide the legal guidance, but I would say that the procedure before you tonight would allow you to address that very issue. And as you recall at the Public Works Committee, one of those action steps was to get the cost of an engineering analysis
Right.
to do the study that would look at setting the speed limit on the road in question.
Carol, can we ask you, in your legal opinion, do we need to move that back to what it was now, or how do we move forward on this?
What's the speed limit posted right now?
25.
That's what you need to enforce until you change it.
Okay, so we can leave it at 25 and not have any legal.
Yeah.
Now,
As it's posted.
it was my understanding at the meeting, Public Works meeting, someone had stated that if someone were to get a speeding ticket for 30, it is not enforceable because we technically did it not in the right way. Is that the gist of what I got at the meeting?
That is my understanding.
Is that correct from the legal standpoint?
Well, it isn't something I want to talk about in open session, you know, so we can, but I think what's posted right now should be enforced.
Okay.
And it should stay until you go through this process and you change it.
Okay.
And then when you change it, you're going to post the new speed limit.
Well, we want to keep it what it is.
Okay, then you go through this process and then you don't need to change it, but now you've gone through the process.
Okay.
Further council questions? Just one, it's occasionally been discussed by some people that in the older residential neighborhoods with very narrow streets, we should downgrade all of them to 20 miles an hour, not go piecemeal one at a time. Would that sort of thing be allowed under this procedure, assuming they are all non-arterial, local residential streets? Or would we be setting ourselves up to require an engineering survey for each of them?
That's a big question. I'm not sure I'm prepared to answer that entirely, but I think you could look at more than one street. But to look at it comprehensively, I don't want to answer affirmatively tonight, but I think you could package up a bundle. But there may be unique circumstances on certain streets that we would have to investigate where that wouldn't be a recommendation we would put forward as staff.
I don't know if there's any council desire to do that at the time anyway, but since we were discussing it at the moment, it has been discussed before. Any further council questions? Council's pleasure? Let's move it forward. Thanks.